Trustees. It is Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025. Then one is roll call. I will call the roll. Mr. Snoink.
Here.
Mr. Hermanette is absent. Mr. Bradshaw.
Here.
Mr. Harrison's here. Ms. Henry.
Here.
Mr. Zoller.
Here.
Mr. Robertson.
Here.
Item 2 is Pledge of Allegiance and Invocation. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As we gather this evening on the eve of the celebration of our nation's independence, we just give thanks that we are a part of that history and a part of that continuation of self-rule, of neighbors and friends coming together, deciding how to run a community or a country. We just ask that we do it well, that we work well together. We give thanks for those who protect us while we're here, those in the police, fire, and military. Please give them your protection and comfort to their families. We ask this all in your name. Amen. Item 3, consideration of meeting agenda. Board members having reviewed tonight's agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, clarifications? Seeing none, is
Motion to approve. Support.
all in favor of approval of the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. We have an approved agenda. Item 4, public comment. Opportunity to address the board of any items of interest. Any public comment? Seeing none. Item 5, inquiry of conflict of interest. Board members having approved tonight's agenda. Does anyone have an interest in any of the listed items? Seeing none. Item 6, approve the consent agenda. Number of items listed there, reappointments to the Public Safety Committee, manager's report, and others. Any questions, comments? Requests to remove?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Moved by Snoink, support by Bradshaw, that we approve the consent agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. And that item, or those items are approved. Item 9A, this is an ordinance under second read. This is to amend the zoning ordinance of the Caledonia Township to approve a rezoning. This is an application of Mr. Todd Shaw at 7611 68th Street, and Mr. Shaw has joined us this evening for this second reading. Any questions for the applicant? I believe the available use and use restrictions are listed in the planner's memorandum. We do have a resolution that would allow us to move this forward this evening if that is the will of the board. I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance.
Support.
Moved by Harrison, supported by Zoller. It is before us for second reading. Is there a discussion? Is there any public comment? We need to address it unless... All right, I'll call the roll. Mr. Snoink.
Aye.
Mr. Bradshaw.
Yes.
Harrison's yes. Ms. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. Zoller.
Yes.
Mr. Robertson.
Aye.
And that item is approved. Again, you're welcome to go enjoy the evening and
Thank you.
sit on your riverbank and dream now. Right, thank you. Item 10A is a motion to approve the Craft Avenue Water Main Crossing at 76th Street in the amount of $88,199. I'll seek introduction from our manager.
Yeah, so this is, there are two things in the agenda tonight, talking about making water main crossings at 76th and 84th. This is the first one. They're going to be doing work here, Kent County Road Construction. It's cheaper to do the work now. The cost is $88,199. The recommendation comes from Todd. It's just more effective, cost effective to put this in when it's open cut versus having to board jack it later. And this is kind of getting in, it's the preparation for the craft trunk line that we know we'll have to install once Grand Rapids connects to water in the next couple of years.
Okay.
So shouldn't that in item D be discussed at the same time because it's together?
Well, they're two separate projects.
One is a steel casing for the craft trunk line. Okay. Make a motion to approve.
Support.
Moved by Zoller, support by Bradshaw, that we approve item 10A is the Craft Avenue Water Main Crossing at 76th Street in the amount of $88,199. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. That item is approved. Item 10B, this is a discussion. These are the bids received for the vision and strategy for the Township Parks and Trail. This is an informational review. We do intend to do interviews with the applicants as well, and then come to the board with a recommendation for consideration of approval for one of these proposals. I would simply say that as part of our township vision and strategic plan, we have talked about moving ahead on development of some of our co-owned properties with the county, to continue to acquire properties, to connect as far as river access goes, and potentially partner with the village and others on new properties. And so with all that in mind, we've looked to other communities that are a step or two ahead of us, and many of them have benefited from a formal vision and strategy document. And so this is a opportunity for us to consider getting sort of a blueprint for the building of that vision. So again, discussion, but any insights? There is a considerable cost, at least, or I should say investment involved with this, similar to doing a master plan for land use, some of the other items. I know we've spent money on the recreation plan with the village, which I think is helpful, but it's sort of a baseline inventory, more of than it is a future focused plan. And I think this will take us beyond what we have currently with our recreation plan.
And if I could speak to it, I mean, I think part of this informational discussion is talking about the interview questions that the board would like for us to ask the 3 proposed companies that put bids together. This whole idea is that to get the community involved, to get the village, the county, the township, and get this whole plan and strategy of what we want our parks and trail system to look like. What does that include? What does the maintenance of it include? What is the trajectory? And a large part of that is we need the public to be part of that input process in deciding our next steps. So this is kind of how we get there and how we ask the public to kind of get on board with this plan of doing parks and trails in the future. So I think part of this discussion is what questions does the board feel are important that we ask these three companies that have submitted proposals to the township?
Yeah, and I will say, we've done community engagement for Community Green. That's when I discovered what pickleball was. I do think sometimes we have blind spots that they help us with our vision. And even then, we had the pickleball next to the splash pad, and we've had to adjust. So I think we have to be able to have a vision document, but we have to be agile. Hopefully, some of the properties we're trying to acquire come into fruition to have some of this connect. But I do think, and then we've talked about the potential or possibility of asking for funding of this, and that would be inherent, that conversation would be inherent in developing this document as well. Then turning to the public saying, here's what we're seeing. We have willing partners, or we don't. When it comes to people like the county, they've at least are aware. We did have an in-office meeting with the county parks director. They are supportive of us, including their properties, which we are have a co-interest in, at least in this, and so that will be included as well.
That was just gonna be one of my questions, only for informational purposes, but how much does the county plan the park on, when we share this property, how much does the county, does the county do some of this work or not? I don't know, I'm just asking.
They do have a community engagement process. I think they've done at least preliminary visioning, and I know they did on Riverbend. I'm not sure if they've done it on Two Rivers yet. But I've seen that evolve as well, both properties. So they do ongoing vision and development. I do think there's some funding coming through for potential phase 1 development due to their ARPA money and so on. So I think it's timely. And I do know that they're at least tentatively also looking at a parks millage countywide, and there would probably be a matching element of that. So our clarity on a vision, but also on potential funding, I think could help us get ahead of the game on developing park properties and access as well. Tim, I don't know if you have any inside knowledge on the county parks
side?
Not beyond really what you've kind of stated. I think that is in the queue of interest that the county is, desires to look at a parks millage and figure out what does that mean and cost and how is it implemented. And then there are, in the RFP, I think we provided a concept that the county had done for Two Rivers and Thornapple River Bend from previous work that, and I would call it conceptual. These aren't like bid-ready plans, but ideas that the county had put together in the past.
Okay.
One of the concerns that I expressed to Brian a while back is that it seems to me that we're spending a lot of money to replow ground that we started plowing about 10 or 15 years ago. I'd like to think that we did have some sort of a plan, at least with the trails. We have in the conference room, big maps of the trail and all the segments. We spent a lot of money for that. And so in terms of the vision, I like to think, well, you kind of have a vision already. I'm not sure how much we need to spend to renew that vision and maybe clarify it. And in community engagement, we did it for the community green. I think that was helpful. I'm not sure a lot has changed. I guess if I were to prejudge it, I don't think that people that have dogs want more dog parks. The people that play pickleball want more pickleball courts. People like me that walk want more trails. And the majority of the community, which probably doesn't do any of those things, don't want their taxes to go up in terms of a millage. So I think some of this information is in our hands already, and it's nice to get some confirmation of that. But $50,000 at the low end seems like a lot of money. And in the back of my mind, I recall we spent a lot of money for the sub-area plan, $50,000. And at the end of it all, I don't think we got much buy-in from the community. And I'm not even sure all of us were really crazy about it. So it's not necessarily money well spent. It's money spent for sure. And I think we've invested a lot in it in terms of the vision. We've just since I've been on the board, Brian and I've been on board for 20 years, and we've picked up properties. I've been very supportive of all of that. I know we're negotiating on a big piece south of the dam. But if I understand correctly, that vision, we're obligated to if we get into this arrangement with the seller. He's already said this is the vision and take it or leave it. And so I'm not sure much visioning is going to be involved there. I really think at the end of the day, we're just trying to set ourselves up to be able to afford to do this. And, I just feel a little uncomfortable sometimes taking taxpayer money so we can come up with a plan to convince them that they want to spend more money.
Okay. I agree with your assessment on the sub-area plan. I think, having said that, I do think there's value of exploring ideas, and sometimes those ideas aren't receptive or received well. So I think, but I agree with your morning after assessment, at least that was money spent and time spent, and it probably did not, at least at this point, create something that the community or property owners involved had. On this one, I do think there's a value in pulling together the trail plan and pulling together each of the individual property plans and creating a cohesive one place that it could be viewed by the public. I think it's hard sometimes for people to know where to go, and maybe that's on us, and maybe it could be done cheaper, but I do think that is one of the additional benefits of kind of coming up with a go-to place where they can see the vision and help to actually write that plan. But all of your concerns about cost are mine as well. I do know that everything costs, surprises. Simple calls to an attorney just to clarify something that I have forgotten has a couple $1,000s attached to it at any given time. So I do know the work we do has real costs, and that does come from our citizens. So I respect your input on those things. Mr. Bradshaw.
Town Manager Nugent just asked for questions, so as everybody's been talking, I wrote down one, and it kind of relates to what Dick said. And it's how do you engage citizens that may not already be heavy parks and trail users to get a full cross-section of what does our community want? I mean, if you go to Calplex on a Saturday and ask people what they want, they're gonna say, I want more soccer fields, because they're out there for a soccer game. So how do we get, not just the park users and trail users to come out and be a part of understanding, what does our whole community want, not just our current heavy users, so.
Yeah, and I know we've been approached by the disc golf, the mountain bikers, and it'll be interesting to get those ideas out in a public forum where we can get some input from the public, whether they see those as uses that we want to host in the community too. So I think we'll add some facets to our understanding by expanding those who can give us some input on it.
I also want to add to kind of Dick's point of view, we've done a lot of these things before, but one of the things I do think is important that's mentioned in all of these plans is putting together a CIP plan, like capital improvement plan. We've got all this infrastructure. How do we manage and take care of it in the years to come? And I think that is a very important piece that we need to be able to tell people what we're going to do and have a roadmap of how we're going to maintain all of these things in the future.
Not to get too far in the weeds on that, but do you know if other communities who have parks and trails infrastructure, do they actually have a capital improvement fund then? And that they put annual contributions similar that we do to anticipate large needs in the fire department and so on? Is there a fund that might be an outcome of this as well?
I believe Ada and Grand Rapids Township all have, it's part of their millages. They have money that funnels into a CIP to take care of the replacement. They have engineers who go out and do pacer studies of all the trails and decide this is what needs to get fixed next year, so that it's always being maintained constantly and they don't have to do complete reconstructions.
So similar to what the road commission does, they do regular assessments of the trails and then can have a maintenance schedule, which we've discussed and needed as well. So. But thank you. Appreciate the input, even that, which is critical or insightful. I think that it's true and needs to be either built in or considered when we're making the final decision on if we move ahead with these. So wanted you to have those. We will continue to move ahead at least with a recommended contract, and then we can drill down into more detailed points of our interest in doing so at that time. 10C is a motion to approve the purchase of.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
They need to close it down. Mr. Robertson.
Now, just a curiosity question, did Prine and Newhoff was not interested in helping us with this? Because they're kind of who we've been using on the trail anyway.
They didn't submit a plan for the parks vision, the strategy. I told them about it. They did just submit, we had another RFP due today for the 76 Patterson Trail. They did submit for that, but not for the larger vision, which was kind of surprising.
All right, any other questions, discussion? Okay, thank you. Item 10C is a motion to approve the purchase of 2 Cummins generators from Michigan Critical Power, Consumers Energy installation of natural gas service to both lift stations at a total project budget not to exceed $86,372, which includes a 10% contingency allowance. Again, Township Manager.
This has been discussed in the utility committee meetings probably at the beginning of the year. With the addition of Kettle Preserve, they need more backup infrastructure, which this can be paid for by a lot of those residents hooking onto the system. It's just their critical backup that they need, and they want to purchase 2 generators. They went out to bid, and the lowest bid was 2 Cummins generators at the cost of $70,034. With the additional cost of the addition of the Consumers Energy gas service installation and a contingency of 10%.
Okay, any discussion?
Move approval.
Moved by Bradshaw, is there support? Supported by Snoink. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Then item D is this a motion to approve a steel casing for the Craft trunk line in the amount of $39,493, which would also include a 10% contingency. Madam Manager.
So just like motion or 10A, this is pretty much the same thing. It's putting in a steel casing so that when the craft trunk line comes in, we don't have to do, it's already open cut now, and then this is a lot cheaper to do it now versus having to go back and do a bore jacking or bore and jack installation. So that is the recommendation of Todd to do it now versus in a year or two from now when it will cost more money. And the total cost is $39,493 plus a 10% contingency.
Move to approve.
Support.
I will call the question in a moment, but I guess this second bid, this is a trunk line, is this water as well?
Yes.
It is
Yes,
water.
yep.
So help me understand, what is the difference between the two? As a
Well,
member of the
it's,
utility.
it's a
committee-
mile away.
They're
The first one we approved was at 76, and that's where I didn't read
I thought this
fully.
one was as
The other
well.
one's at
That's
84.
84. Okay.
And this is, the reason that there's no additional quotes is because this is gonna be done through Kent County Road Commission.
And this one also doesn't actually have the water pipe in it yet. It's just a casing that will receive a water pipe
Okay.
later.
Thank
Just
you.
remember where it is.
And I'm sure.
That's right. M6?
Don't talk about wasting money. You ever put a pipe under the ground or, anyways, there is a motion to approve. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no, and that is approved. Thank you. Item 11, public comment. Anyone wish to address the board? Seeing none, board comment.
I'm good.
Just wanted to compliment the village. I think downtown looks great, the flowers and the flags. It's a, really great place to relax and buy stuff downtown and enjoy your summer.
Two items. One, and don't need feedback at this board meeting, but do want to put into the public domain that it's something to, at least to be considered. One is the idea of whether we would start our meetings at 6 as opposed to 7. I don't have a strong feeling, but at least the summer gets you out while there's still some evening left, and the winter gets you home, when it doesn't seem like it's been dark for 5 hours, because it has. So just something to consider. I think the days in which everyone got out of work at 5 and had to get home for dinner exactly at 6, because that's when dinner is, and then it made sense to get here at 7. Maybe things have changed, but at the same time, I'm fine with it, but it's something to think about. It has been, some input I've received is that those who are still running kids back from practices and so on, that's cutting it tight with the 6 o'clock from when practices are getting over and trying to get the chicken nuggets on the table and things like that. So there still is sort of a squeeze that may be the extra hour to help. But out to others who may want to get things started earlier so we have more time when we need longer time and with fresh minds or not. So just entering for discussion. Then we did make 4 appointments to the public safety this evening. There are 5 positions on that. There is a vacancy on the Public Safety Advisory Committee. I did have the manager pull the resolution just to refresh our memories, because I had talked to, with apologies to the village president, but I had talked to the village manager, who happens to at least bring a perspective from the village operations, but also has a history of fire service, to talk about possibility of that individual serving. And there's a willingness to do so, but our current ordinance, as worded, does require those positions to be filled by residents. And obviously, there's an enlightened interest in having a resident in that, but I also think we could balance that with some of that his vocation and a lot of his history is there, and the fire service. So something to discuss, the placement of that person, which would require an amendment to the ordinance, which isn't revolutionary. We have amended it at least twice since I've been on the board, given it scope to include law enforcement, so we've expanded its scope, we've narrowed it. I think the village at one time might have had a named seat on it, and we didn't include that. We took it from 7 members to 5 members, so we can change things when it meets our needs and helps better serve our citizens. So just putting that out for discussion, and if we are more comfortable, because those who pay should have a literal seat at the table, then we can talk about who a 5th person to round that out could be as well. So welcome input from board members on sidebars, but also from the community who may hear of this discussion if they have any input on those 2 items. Madam Clerk.
I just wanted to say I'm glad the flags are out on the bridges. Yep, that looks really good. That's all.
Mr. Zoller.
Think about that.
Mr. Robertson.
At the last meeting, we just talked a moment ago about maintenance on the trail, and at the last meeting, I pointed out my concern about problems on the craft trail up where the overpass is, and on my recent walk up that, I see it's been marked out for repair. It's orange paint. Is that the road commission? Whoever
Yeah.
uses orange paint.
It is.
So
It
I
told
can
me you
see
would do me a
where
favor.
at least,
Squeaky wheel.
right. But volcano is still there, I'm sure that. Oh, the other part of that I didn't, and maybe they don't mark that, but on that same trail at the south end, as you approach 68th Street, there are lots of longitudinal cracks. It's unusual because most of the trails, the cracks go across the trail. But they're long longitudinal cracks. There's already weeds growing up through some of them, and I'm wondering if those shouldn't be, I don't know, they sandblast them out and then put rubberized something or other in there. And I see, even on Cherry Valley, for example, in front of my house, they walked down the road and they were doing some of that. So it's a process, and if that does extend the life or preserve the integrity of the surface, then that might be something that could be included as well, because they're really quite noticeable and definitely worse this season than they were last season.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to take one more bite at the apple and just say thank you for those who helped with the Independence Day Parade. That truly is a community collaboration. The schools are a part of it, and the lending of their properties, the village, and helping to control the parade route and permit that. We have the county sheriff and the fire department helping with safety issues. And then, of course, board members who serve on that committee, making sure we have everything from Porta-Johns to fireworks location and permits. And then staff who do the awards for the hometown hero and for insurance. So it really is an all hands on deck. Many hands make light work, and we have a good recipe in the recipe box. But thank you to all who helped make that community celebration come together each year. I may challenge us going ahead. I know we've kind of got the recipe down, and should we think about going back to where we could add, now that we have community green, could we do more community programming? It used to be down at Lakeside Park. That hasn't gone away, that people still have appetite for more. Though we dialed it back when they appeared to not have an appetite for more, where we would put a lot into putting programming in at the park, and then within an hour and a half, you'd have 30 people, max maybe, still there for a lot of effort and cost. So, but all in all, a great way to celebrate summer and our independence. So thank you to all. So with that,
Motion adjourned.
support. All in favor? Say aye. Opposed, say no. And we are adjourned.
Chief Loman from Kentwood is a resident, and I used to ask him a lot of questions when I worked at Kentwood and didn't know much about PSAC, and I think as long as he has capacity, he'd be very interested. I think so.
Yeah.
Siler would know for
That
sure,
is-
but
Good input. We've had other retired chiefs. I want to come down to someone who isn't there to be their cheerleader, an advocate, and they already kind of, or the most expensive thing on the market.
maybe we could get some hand-me-downs, I don't know.
If that's his day job, and then
Completely necessary.
he's a mechanic. And then he told me the other day he has a farm out in,
We can review the scope and
bales
certainly
hay
even
and stuff.
use.
He's like, you wanna come bale hay?
Yeah. Good for you.
He's a good guy.
I
Oh, yeah.
think it's still helpful overall.
Just put it on top, it would work. I wondered if they might use it.
It's not
You're
helpful.
a leader.
Yeah, that's, since the one,
Thank you, John.
I know.
One thing for us to consider.